Yeah, it's, uh,
Esmond, I was doing can I ask you a quick question? So I've been, the 97-pound binder that we get, the Diabetes Essentials
yeah,
binder
the
with,
big
yeah, with
binder.
the PCN. And so I was doing that exam at the end of the binder, the 100 questions.
Hmm.
And there was a bunch of questions on like oh God, DCCT trial and I don't know,
Yeah,
veterans trial.
UKPDA and VADT, stuff like that.
Like, I can't remember all those trials. Are there a lot of questions like that on the exam about all those trials?
Usually there's like maybe one or two questions on the UKPDS and DCCT. You don't have to memorize everything about those trials, but kind of just know, okay, UKPDS tested people with type 2, followed them for 20 years. They found significant improvements in microvascular disease. Uh, DCCT followed them for 20 years, those type 1s. Sometimes they ask like, oh, how much did the UKPDS show renal function decreased by in the intensive group? Or
Yeah.
maybe they'll ask something about the legacy effect where, you know, for the first part of a UK-PDS, people were treated to 9 or 7. Then then after the 10 years they were discharged, all of them came to about 8. And then, but 10 years later, even though the people were at the same A1C, the people who were in the intensive group showed benefit, whereas the people up here, the 9 group, didn't show benefit. So that's where they had the legacy effect, where, hey, your A1C is the same, but because you got control before, even though your A1C is not great now, you still got less heart attack and such than the placebo group.
So the ones in the more intense group, sorry, so the legacy effect is, even though the two groups, the A1Cs were the same, the one who got intense intervention to start had fewer comorbidities.
Correct.
What you're
Yeah.
saying? Okay.
Yeah. So it was like 10 years of intense, and then 10 years where they just watched the people. They didn't get any intense therapy. The people in the intense therapy, maybe without their educator, their A1C went up to 8. And then maybe the intense people, they said, oh, hey, the people in the 7 group, they have way less heart attacks. I better get my A1C down. So they both merged, like it was like 8.1 and 7.9. So they're basically, oops, I didn't, people. They were both basically the same.
Okay.
But despite being almost the same A1C, the people in the intensive group still had benefits 10 years afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like 5 of the questions on that, and I thought, I cannot memorize all these trials.
I know. It's.
I kind of don't care about them. Like, seriously. Okay. That was my one question.
No problem. Yeah, I know. It seems like there's time. Oh, wow, there's lots of people coming up. There's lots of stuff to memorize for exam, and it's kind of annoying because you might memorize this entire chart and it might not show up on the exam.
Yeah.
So I try to minimize that. I say, okay, this chart to probably be one question. So if you can memorize part of it or some of it, just do your best. No one and then hopefully the thing you did memorize, like the same with the natural health products. There's like 3 different tables. I wish they would just make one table, but
For the which?
for the natural health products.
Oh God, I haven't even looked at those.
There's stuff like fenugreek. There's one time it was like marine peptide collagen peptides or something like that. And I'm like, that's not one of the ones I memorized. I memorized like garlic and cinnamon or something that I might see in this food store. But then it was like marine collagen peptides. I'm like, oh God, like I can look back and see that, okay, it was in that chart, but yeah, it's not one of the ones I memorized. So just try your best to memorize the things that you can. And you can't memorize everything.
No.
Sometimes the stuff you memorize might not be on the exam anyway, but try your best. What really sucks is the format that you guys are writing with. Like,
oh yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, I was talking to a student about that yesterday, and then like you only get this little like white pad and so small.
Yep.
And yeah, and like with paper, I always tell my students to circle the knots and circle the incorrect, the double negatives and stuff like that. But I don't think you can do that with Top Hat.
No, and I did email them saying, can we at least use a scrap piece of paper, because I'm a writer You
Mhm.
know, like I write things. He said, nope, absolutely not.
Oh, really? Jeez.
Yep.
Very strict.
Great.
Yeah, because I put like question marks or like come back to this question or like cross
Yeah.
off answers that I know are incorrect so that when I come back, because time is your most valuable resource on the exam. And doing those little shortcuts save you a lot of time.
So would you suggest like, you know, going through and sort of all the questions that you know, like, oh, I know that, and then you get to one that you're really stuck on. Do you just skip that and come back to it? Or, because that's how I would do it on paper.
Yes, that's exactly how I would suggest. Also, so the two things that the people who failed, usually they do two things. One is that they run out of time. So that's why on the exam, I'm constantly telling you to like keep track of your time and get faster. The second thing they do is go back and switch a whole bunch of answers. So if you're in doubt, go with your gut, go with the first answer that you chose. Don't go back and change a whole bunch of questions. Like if you know that this question is right, just go with it. And once you hit a question you don't know, just skip it and come back to it.
Okay. I'm assuming we can do that on this platform.
Yes, you can. I asked that same question as if you can go back and check.
Okay.
Because I'd heard that on some online exams, I'm old and this is freaking me out, but anyway, that some online exams you cannot go back. So I messaged them and I had a message back this morning to say, yes, you can go back.
Okay.
Okay, good.
That made me feel a little bit better. Not hugely.
So they didn't answer my question about a calculator though.
No, you're not allowed a calculator.
No, but at least on a piece of paper you can, you know, do calculations, but
if you go on
where the whiteboard is, if you look just to the left of the whiteboard, there's a calculator and they are turning that on for the exam.
Yeah, if you look on the TVD exam, like FAQs, that's what they said. Like I think too many people asked that they weren't able to do the calculation on the whiteboard, so they added the calculator.
Oh, that's new. Usually for the paper version, you're not allowed a calculator.
Yeah.
At least you can write down. Like at least in the paper version, you have got your scrap paper and you can, you know. Do you remember, Esmond, do they, will they do the BMI, the A1C calculation? Like if they give you.
Yes, like they'll be, I think I put a question on one of my practice exams, but it'll be like.
I think so too, 6 minus, no.
Yeah, it's A1C minus 6 brackets.
Times 2.
Yep, times 2 plus 6. I'll put that in the chat so that's easier to see.
Plus 6, okay.
Minus 6.
Gives you your average. So A1C minus 2. So if it's an A1C of 10 minus 6 is 4 times 2 is 8 plus 6 is 14. Average sugars of 14. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then the BMI is kilograms over meters squared.
Mm-hmm. I hope that they don't put that on your exam. Like I got a math question on my exam paper version, and I'm sure I got it wrong. The answers were like 5, 6, and 7, and I got like 0.2 or something like that. I don't know how to do long division anymore.
Okay. Okay. I don't know how they said you have to scan your ceiling, but I'm on a, does anybody know this? Because I'm on my desktop and it doesn't swivel. It's like, it's an old desktop that does not move from my desk, but.
Sorry, I think I read if you have a desktop, they might ask you to get a mirror and show.
Oh my gosh, this online exam is ridiculous.
Come on. All right.
That's just what I read. I might be wrong, but just maybe be prepared with the mirror.
They send it to random students, I think, during the exam. Like, I think they're going to take random people for that, too.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that if you don't look in that direction, it's fine. So, like, if you're not going to scan your ceiling, don't be caught on camera during the exam, like, looking up, right? Because if you never look there, then, I mean, I think they just don't want you to put stuff up there. But if you never look up there, they can't accuse you of doing that, right?
Yeah.
So
Esmond, have you, like, I did your questions on your, I didn't do the 165 question exam yet. I was going to do that because I can't remember what membership I have. If I can get that exam from you.
You should, if you're in here, you should have packet C and you should be able to access both of them.
I did do the two, or the ones that you have on there, but then you've got an extra exam on there, don't you?
Oh, the quizzes? Yeah,
Yeah,
those
so
are available to
I
packet.
did all the quizzes, but do you have more?
I'm building more, but I don't know.
This is-
No, hold on.
Yeah, I did the screening quiz and the target quiz.
Here are the full quizzes, yeah.
The insulin, where is it?
They're all right here.
They were
Oh, I
very
didn't do the question studies and statistics quiz. Oh, okay. Didn't see that one.
So remember to watch your time. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do the quizzes a few times because I learned that, like, you read, but you can only absorb so much. So then when I see the quiz, then I can go back and double check. But we can do them again, right? Like I did the first one a couple
Quizzes,
times.
you can just repeat them.
Repeat them. And I don't know the answer to this question. God.
When you do it, you can find out. Yeah.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah. Any other questions?
All right. So, no, are you going to review some pediatric stuff? Is there quite a bit on pediatrics?
Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. Like I've heard that, some years they focus on pediatrics and sometimes they don't. And to be honest, that would completely screw me over because I have zero pediatrics experience. But people say that, but I think that was with the older exams. And I haven't run into, like I've written it twice and I'm writing again next year. I've never run into an exam where it's just all pediatrics questions. There's definitely some. Usually I would say 5-ish, maybe 5 to 10-ish, but it's not humongous.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and another thing about skipping questions, it's also important to skip questions you don't know because it could be one of those pilot questions which aren't worth any marks. So because what they do when they have a new question is they experiment, okay, does this question make sense? If the answer is A, but everyone chooses D, then they won't use it again next year. But the problem is that if you spend like 20 minutes trying to figure it out and you got the right answer, it still isn't worth any marks anyway. So you just wasted 20 minutes.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Okay, those were my questions.
Okay. Irene, just to verify. Yeah, this one's complicated. Because I think it's the opposite. Here, I can look it up.
Is not untrue? Oh, I didn't see that.
So what?
Like the double negative in the question?
Oh yeah, you have to watch out for those. There's, just one.
Would they actually ask is not untrue question?
It's something like, or which ones are incorrect, or which of the following statements are.
But not untrue means which one is correct.
That's correct. Yes. You just have to watch out for those.
Oh. Okay.
Hold on, let me find the answer to this one. I believe that's correct, Irene. Yeah, but here, let me look it up.
Which question are we looking at? What are we doing?
Can you see my chat box?
No.
Okay, so if you
Oh,
go.
there we go. Okay.
Yeah, so Irene's just asking the statin question. And I'm just looking at it.
Yes.
You guys can see my screen, the faces, and this chat box, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can. Sorry, it's me. I'm just.
Okay. I'm just like sometimes like I'm just making sure that I'm seeing what you're seeing what I'm seeing.
Be greater than and equal to 40 years old.
Yeah, I'm just gonna minimize this, put this over here. So that's over here.
Statins can be used in people younger than 40.
They can if they meet certain criteria, but for the exam, usually it's if they're over 40. Like if they've had a heart attack, definitely, like secondary prevention, you definitely put them on a statin.
Right.
Here it is.
S162.
Yeah. What's annoying is that, oopsies. Like if I put in 162 here, it sends me to page 162, not S162.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
super.
Here, I'm going to go get my book.
Sure. So yeah, Irene, here's the statin part. It's age 40 or equal. And then I believe the ECG is just over 40, which is right here. So it's kind of annoying. You have to memorize one's equal or greater, and another one's just greater. Yeah. Any other questions? This is just meant to be a casual question asking time. Otherwise, you just go watch me work.
Hi, Esmond. It's Josie.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I had a question about the screening. It's hard for me to memorize things. So I'm looking at your screening cheat sheet and I'm trying to memorize like when you screen children with type 1 diabetes for various parameters. But then I'm confused as to when it's like 12 years old or post-puberty. Like, is there a difference, or which one is like specifically post-puberty and not just an age?
So yeah, that part is definitely confusing. You're not the only person who's asked that. Let me just see here. So basically you have to look at it as which one's that age or greater, because it takes time for diabetes damage to occur. Like for example, for like nephropathy, if the kid's 11 years old, they got diagnosed just before their birthday, do you start screening them right away? No, because they've only had 1 day of diabetes. They don't have any damage yet. So in that case, you would, where is it? Here we go. So in that case, it would be whichever is greater. So for example, for nephropathy, yearly screening at 12 years if duration of DM equals 5. So if they're diagnosed at like 3 years of age, then you would start screening them at 12. If they were diagnosed at 12, then you would start doing it at 17, because it takes time for diabetes damage to occur.
So, but nephropathy, I notice, is like specifically 12, whereas I guess retinopathy and neuropathy is 15.
Yeah.
Like, it's just really hard. I don't know if I'm going to memorize that or just wing it, because I'm not sure I can remember all that.
I know. I mean, again, like there are a bunch of screening questions on the exam, so this would be the easiest way to do it is just to go through my quizzes and just do it again and again and again and again until you kind of have it memorized. I know,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
difficult to memorize for sure.
Yeah, I guess there's no, like, yeah, so that's what I was asking, like, if there was a specific reason why puberty came into it, or if it's just like, or I guess the metabolic, like, the stability of puberty, because then puberty causes hormones that might increase your blood sugar. Like, I was trying to make a reasonable, like a rationalization for it so that I would remember it better. But, yeah.
I think in general, like, it takes time for diabetes to do damage. And second, for kids, maybe they're more resilient. Like, it isn't until they start, actually, I don't know. I'm trying to rationalize too.
Yeah, okay.
Just, it takes time for diabetes damage to occur, basically.
Yeah, so like the theme is basically type 1, they're kids, you wait a bit longer to start screening. But specifically like type 2 children, you still do the same as if they were adults. Like there's like yearly screening even at diagnosis, because it may have been developing over time and you didn't realize it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm going to go with that as the take-home message.
Yeah, like you did, like children is kind of that is exactly it. You like with children, they might have had it for a long time. It's rare, like type 2, and it's used to be rare, but now it's becoming increasingly common. Like when I started doing pharmacy, like the idea of someone under 40 having diabetes was absolutely unheard of. Like even under 50, like I would never see patients. But now, like there's this guy, it's like 38, and he's got like an A1C of 8.5. It's like, wow. So like these people are like, maybe I'm aging myself, but these people are starting to be younger than me and they already have diabetes. It's like, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
Kathy, you've got any other questions, Josie?
No, that's it for now. Thank you.
Okay, so Kathy, my question is essentials on how many grams of fat was in 2 that derives. Okay, let me go get my essentials book. 1 second. Okay, do you know which page number that's on by any chance, Kathy? Or which question number it is? Question for, okay. Okay, how many grams? Okay, so here's the calculation. So for calculating energy requirements, it's the thing you should memorize is 4497. So protein and carbs give 4 kilocalories per gram of food. 9 is from fat and 7 is from alcohol. So let's do the math here. I wish this binder wasn't so big. I need like a bigger table.
I can help with this one. I did this one.
Sure.
Yeah, so what you do, so I did this one. So 29%, right, 580 calories are from fat, right? There's not divided by 9. Oh, there you go, is 64. Yeah. So they tried to trick you on that question by talking about kilojoules, but it didn't, like, I think it said kilojoules or something, but all you have to know is it's a 2,000 calorie diet. 29% of 2,000 is 580 calories. And when you look at 580 calories, are from fat. There's 9 kilocalories per 1 gram, so it's 64 grams of fat.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
That totally makes sense. And so the answer is B for that one right there. Perfect. That's not
But
sure
again,
why.
yeah. That's right, because they'll like they're doing kilojoules and percentage and grams, and I had to look at that question a couple times because I think they were trying to mess you up a little bit.
Those are typical nutrition questions as well, like dietitian exam. They'll try to mix you up with the calories and kilojoule and the grams. You just have to make sure you have the right units.
Right.
So you don't get mixed up, yeah.
Good.
Like for the, Esmond, do you remember for the nutrition questions, I've heard that there's a ton of them on there and they ask like bizarre amounts of foods. Do you remember that?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I wish it would just give you like, okay, so you remember how in some of my exams I'll be like, oh, for ginger snaps or popsicles or things like that. Like I would never memorize how much bread, like I would memorize what's in it, like a slice of bread or like an apple or something like that. But I would never memorize those kind of things. And so that is, yeah, so sometimes I'll ask like, you know, you have a patient, he's sick, figure out his calorie intake in ice cream or popsicles and stuff like that, which is, I feel kind of unfair because no one memorizes just that stuff. So that, but you're right, nutrition is, there'll be a ton of questions on nutrition. Absolutely try to, if there is something I would memorize, try to memorize the nutrition chapter more than like the studies and stuff like that, because the studies still be 1 or 2 questions, but there'll be a ton of questions on nutrition.
Okay, like the nutrition chapter of the
Yeah.
essentials binder.
Yeah, and sometimes some of their handouts too. Stuff like stuff like this, and that sometimes shows up on the exam.
Oh, okay.
There's a sweeteners one too. Sometimes they'll ask you what's the max dosage of sweeteners and stuff like that.
Oh,
I found a video on your website there with the dietitian was quite nice for that, like
Yeah.
regarding the glycemic index.
Mhm.
That helped.
Good. I'm glad you found that useful. So Kathy, you're asking, did anyone get their answers back from the essentials? I submitted mine back in like April. That was during the pandemic. I was stuck at home, but I haven't got my answers back yet. So I also heard that there was actually a lot of cutbacks and layoffs at Diabetes Canada. So I don't know if that department still exists.
does anybody have theirs with them to go over and compare their answers for it?
I actually, here, one of my students sent me a question, so give me 1 second. Just take a screenshot of this, but don't take the person's name. That's what I got.
Oh,
So that's her. She sent hers in February before the pandemic, and she got it back pretty quickly.
can you leave that up there for a second? I'm just gonna grab mine and,
Yeah, go screen.
is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or I can take a picture of that.
Yeah, go take a picture of this.
Okay, I will.
Phone or something like that.
And this was marked. Oh, okay.
Don't take the person's name. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so I sent mine back in April. I haven't gotten mine yet. So eventually I'll probably just put this on, I'll just probably create a key on my exam, like better looking than this, on my website. And because I think it's unreasonable that I put mine in April and I haven't got, it's, October and I haven't gotten it back.
That is unreasonable.
Yeah, I think that department may have been severely cut. Like I'm part of the local committee for the diabetes educator section, and there's been like lots of cuts, but like usually they give us like $1,000 a year to spend on stuff for members, and this year they've clawed everything back. So I think there's been a lot of cuts at Diabetes Canada.
Okay. Is there a lot of questions on ISCR and all those calculations?
There'll be a couple, yes. And they'll show up in real life too, so you might as well know those.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, they're good to know. Just like writing on paper, not on a mouse on a computer.
I know. I find that really hard, to be honest. Like, yeah. I'm hoping for next year when I write, they go back to paper, because I would, yeah.
You sent some questions regarding what? I
see our insulin to carb ratio and insulin sensitivity factor and things like that.
Okay.
And insulin sensitivity factor is the same as correction, right?
Yes, it's just a different name for it.
And you need the ISF in that basically is how you correct.
Correct.
Your
So,
ICR, okay.
I don't know why it's not showing up. There we go. It is this one, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm. Anyone else have any other questions?
Probably, I just can't remember them now.
Okay.
I do. So it's the one that I have submitted by email. Regarding the when you change like the insulin regimen. So I know there's a lot of different, like if you look at the essentials in the chapter, there's a lot of like exceptions. Oh, you do this, but that one you have to reduce, this one you have to increase, like a lot of stuff like that. But when like on your cheat sheet, it says, let me just get it there, for if you're on MDI and you're switching to twice daily insulin, like there's no insulin reduction to do there.
So if you're at MDI, that means you're taking like basal bolus and you're switching
Yeah.
to
Mixed,
twice.
pre-mixed, or
Oh.
that what?
Yeah, here we see. I've never done that in real life.
Or
Like-
opposite. Like I have, like, I feel like that you don't see in practice as much for me anyways, but I would see more often someone who's on pre-mixed and they had no idea that you could go on MDI, and then you suggest it and they're okay with it. So then you have to do the calculations. But would you do a dose reduction there?
That
Depends
is
on your
a
control,
good
maybe?
That is a really good question. So okay, let's do a case together. I'll do it in the chat too. Let's just do it together. And I would say it depends if they're on taking if they're on MDI, they might be on like Tresiba, which is just once daily, or they could be on NPH, which is twice daily. But let's see here. So let's say, so your case is, let's say they're taking 30 units of mixed insulin, let's say Novamix 30. And you want to switch that to MDI, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so let's calculate that. So 30 units of, so that's 60 units total, okay? 30 units, 30% of that is bolus. And let's just round these numbers just to make it easy. So that's 2040. So they're taking basically 10 units of Novorapid twice a day and 20 units of NPH twice per day. Not like got proteinated Novorapid, which kind of acts like intermediate insulin. So in that case, I would reduce stiffing by 20%. So let's say they're going to MDI. So the 20 divided by 3, so that would be 7 units with each meal. And then now you've got 40 twice a day. So I'd probably reduce that by 0.8. Yeah, see, I need a piece of paper. This doesn't make sense like this. So what is 40 divided by? Because I'm like assuming you're going from 8 to a once daily basal insulin. That's how I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
40 divided times 0.8 is 32. Yeah, so my final thing would be 7 units TID of Novorapid and 32 units of basal is how I would switch that. Does that make sense?
I think so, because at first you meant like 30 units of Novamix twice daily.
TID, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. You would reduce the long-acting only.
Yeah, because there's...
Food is the same, I guess.
Yeah, you don't really need to decrease the bolus in that case.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm just going to be working on answering other people's questions.
Nope, that's all I've got.
Okay.
I'm gonna go do your other exams.
Feel free to ask if you think of something. Feel free to ask.
Okay.
What about I'm guessing they're not going to ask why, but again, it's kind of like a retention of information kind of deal. Like I find that the table with factors that affect A1C, like some of them I do have memorized, but I memorize them better if I understand why. And same thing like for the vitamin C, E, aspirin, I don't really understand the mechanism behind how that affects the A1C. Like the ones about iron and B12 make more sense. I understand that one, but the other ones I don't.
Yeah.
It's hard to find. Well,
Let me try. No, not this one. It's, where is it? Yeah, it is difficult. Where is it? I thought it was around here somewhere. Do you know what page number it's on?
no, I had copied it to
Here
study.
it is. Okay. Nope, that's not it.
Nope.
I
Was
thought it
that
was here somewhere.
No.
Chapter.
Monitoring.
Esmond, I'm going to sign out. I'm going to go do your exams again.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, this is just a casual drop-in session.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks.
No problem.
Okay.
Here it is. Okay. So basically anything that affects red blood cell life will can affect A1C, because you can kind of think of it as like glycosylated A1C is like a sugar on a donut. And so things that affect the donut affects the layer of sugar on the thing. And so you said that you understood that the iron stuff that affects the red blood cells, so that affects A1C. For those other things, they affect the rate of glycosylation. So it's kind of like if you put rust protection on something, then it rusts slower. And so some of these things cause things to rust slower, some of them speed up the rust, and so that affects the amount of glycosylation on that iron, that hemoglobin.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know the mechanism for all of them, but that's kind of how you can kind of think of it like this altered glycation here, that's basically affecting the amount of rust that happens.
Okay. And it's like it falsely affects the A1C, as in it doesn't change the sugar, like the blood sugar control, only the test result of the A1C.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Perfect. That's it.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just keep you guys online. If you do have a question while you're studying, feel free to ask me. Otherwise, I'm just gonna go back to answering questions.
Oh, Esmond, you had an insulin calculation cheat sheet up there. I don't think I noticed it on your website. Like I got the screening one and the target one. I don't know if I missed it.
I don't know why, but sometimes it doesn't load, the image doesn't load, but if you just hit download, here it is. No, that's targets, that's...
Oh, I see it. It's under, okay. It must have disappeared on my screen. Okay, thank you.
I think I got a chat question here. There you go, yes. Thanks, Josie. Okay. No risk factors can screen 80 or high risk 40 years. Don't have any risk factors.
I have one more question about, because I was just talking to an actual patient about this today. DKA and HHS, like, is really confusing, like how to treat it and everything. I mean, if I worked in an ER, maybe I would know all of that. But what's the take-home messages of all that, so that we know like what to really concentrate on, other than all the like really technical numbers?
Yeah. So the two main things to get from that chapter are, where is it? Yeah, here it is. So don't memorize any of these like diagrams or anything like that. That's not going to show up on the exam, and it's just a waste of precious memory. But what you do want to know is you want to be able to differentiate between DKA and HS. You kind of want to know what can contribute to those things. You want to know that, SGLT2 inhibitors can cause this special euglycemic DKA. Yeah, but the biggest thing would be to try to be able to differentiate from them. And the biggest differentiation between them is that DKA usually has ketones. And ketones are acidic, so usually there's acidosis of DKA. And with HS, that's usually that's not present. Yeah. But I know there's like a lot of diagrams, and they wouldn't give stuff like this on the exam, or they've never done it in any of my exams or any of my students' exams. Yeah, I know it's a scary chapter, but I wouldn't look into it too much.
And then I know they mentioned about the kids, like the difference between how you would treat a child, maybe, and an adult. Like I think that was one of your test questions, maybe,
Yes.
or.
That seems to always show up on the exam, because in kids, so okay, how is it explained to me? So it's cerebral edema, that's a big problem. And so in kids, because they're still growing, their brain is right up against their skull. Whereas for adults, we have more room in our skull. So giving them insulin before fluids, I believe. It's in that chapter, but I believe you have to give them fluids first before insulin, because if you give them insulin first, then that causes cerebral edema. In adults, that's okay because we've got room in our skulls to grow, to expand and stuff like that. But for kids, they don't. And so what can happen sometimes, it's a rare but fatal complication where if they press up against their skull, then their brain actually gets pushed down into their brainstem, and that's usually fatal. So that's, like, I've never worked in Emerge, I never plan to work in Emerge, but that seems to be a common test question because of its fatality, I believe.
Regarding that, so when you look at that chart there that you have on the screen, because I mean, kids, you don't give insulin first, but adults, like, where does the insulin start on? Because it's fluids, potassium.
I guess I'd be here. Again, like, I don't, like, I'm just following this chart. I wouldn't know what to do in real life. In real life, I'm like, page the Emerge doctor. Don't ask me.
But you seem to be fixing like the potassium and stuff before before the sugars, really. Before.
Yes, I believe it's because you can use insulin as a treatment for hyperkalemia, and so if you give them a whole bunch of insulin without giving them potassium, then all of a sudden they become hypokalemic.
Oh, okay.
Again, something to page the emergency doctor about, not me.
Okay. I have a medical question. Well, for medications, there a question you might be able to answer. So I always thought that the GLP-1, the medication, were targeting like postprandial sugars because they affect, like, it's a hormone for digestion. But I think it was in the essential that I read that the longer acting ones actually work on the fasting, and the shorter acting one work on postprandial sugars. Is that right?
So the longer acting probably works a bit on both.
Okay.
The short acting ones, like exenatide, lixisenatide, not like, especially exenatide, it's not really used. Even lixisenatide, the brand name is Adalicine, and Byetta is the short acting, Bydureon is this one. You have to take them with meals and stuff like that. So those are the short acting ones, and you'll probably never see them. They're very unpopular.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Yes.
Hello.
I have a quick question, just going back to the factors that affect your hemoglobin A1C. When it talks about the altered glycation that you were speaking about, if they have chronic renal failure, do you know at what stage they would be at to see an altered A1C?
Not really. Like I would imagine it's some sort of spectrum. It'd be just something to keep on your radar. Like if you've got some dialysis patients, then you would kind of focus more on their self-monitoring blood glucose than their A1C. You just basically take their A1C with a grain of salt, basically.
Okay, thank you.
If in doubt, like if ever there was like a person's A1C is really high, but a person's self-monitoring blood glucose is fine, you go with the self-monitoring blood glucose.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. I should probably put a star on that table. Like everyone has questions on that. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, so feel free to ask questions at any time. Otherwise, I'm just going to be working on answering some online questions.
Okay, thanks, Esmond. I'm going to log off, so thanks a lot for all your help. And,
No
and good
problem.
luck to everybody.
Best of luck tomorrow, okay?
Thanks.
Where am I? Oh, here. Quick reference. Oh, what? Why did this come up? Oh, I see what she's asking. Okay.
Sure. Hi.
I heard some Marcus
I
with questionnaires on there.
Oh, okay. Just a second.
There we go. Question. So we don't know what the passing grade is. I believe it's marked on this they have this complicated formula, but basically it's just marked on a curve. You do need to pass every competency, which is why when you finish one of my exams, it shows you your grade. So if there is something that's low, you should focus on that area because you do need to pass like the pathophysiology, education, nutrition, et cetera, competencies. It's marked on a curve. You won't know what that mark is. It's basically pass or fail. And yeah, hope that answers your question. -17. Choose 17. -17. Hmm. Very high risk. No, that's more of a judgment call, Monica. Fourth sample test. I'm not sure. Has anyone else heard of that? The fourth sample test? I have someone sent me the first 10 questions, sample questions, but no one has mentioned any other stuff like that, Irene. Oops. Be cooperative. There we go. Really? Would you be okay sharing your screen, Kathy, and letting us take a look at that? Or do you know how to do that? I'm going to ask you to unmute. Here, let me show you how to do that. Okay, so this will be a Zoom lesson in addition to a diabetes lesson.
This will give me more confidence to write that exam tomorrow.
Exactly. The more confident you are in Zoom, the more confident you'll be on the exam. Okay, so let me, here, I have to change the settings. 1 second. I have to allow?
I didn't open it up. It just said that you can go into that top hat and try it again for a practice session.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's all it said.
If you wanted to try, if you're okay with us trying, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay. How do I do this?
Oh, but you have to clear off your desk area and everything before, and because you have to, it's like the exam. So like, you can't have anything anywhere around. I just read the fine print.
Oh, okay.
So
then
it's like, you know, you have to.
Let's not do that then.
Yeah. So I think it's probably just, as I said, you know, I think we're probably CDE-CB has never had so many questions prior to an exam. I mean, I never sent them any questions before I wrote the paper exam. I just went and wrote it. So
yeah, exactly.
I know all my colleagues are, you know, have sent in numerous questions, as have I. So I suspect that they've just decided they'd better give us another go at it.
Yeah, I think that format's freaking it, and I'd be kind of freaking out too. Like I don't have a piece of paper, I can't write on the thing. Like it's really different.
Well, here in the Okanagan, the sunny Okanagan, we're having a mega snowstorm that I used to experience in Manitoba. So the trees are heavily laden. We still have leaves on our trees, and the power keeps flicking on and off. So like I'm having a little worry what happens if my power goes out tomorrow. Just think. Yeah, or the internet goes down, you know, what do you do? I don't know. I messaged them, so they'll get back to me.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah.
One thing I messaged them about was a notepad on there, because I had spoke with somebody else who was writing, and she said that she did see a notepad on the side. Did anyone else see that?
Yes, I believe.
Whiteboard.
Yeah, whiteboard.
Oh, okay, good. Because I totally missed it. I think I was just tired and wanted to get through the questions. But yeah, that's my greatest concern, is not being able to write things down. Okay.
Yeah, that is concerning because, yeah, there's a notepad. It's hard to write with the mouse. Yeah, so you can't actually write on it. I've heard you have to write with your mouse, which is impossible. Like, have you ever tried doing your signature with your mouse? It's like impossible.
If you click on the letters on the notepad, it actually, you can type in like,
oh, okay, good.
2,500 kilocalories divided by, you could actually, I had to figure that out because at first I tried the first thing, which was drawing. I never exceeded in art. There's a reason I'm a nurse. So, you know, yeah. So but if you click on the letters at the top of that whiteboard, then you can type just like normal. Okay. I figured that one out.
So yeah, hopefully that goes well for you guys tomorrow.
At this point, I'm just kind of, it is what it is, and we just.
It is what it is. Like no one's ever felt fully prepared for the exam. Like even though I've written it a bunch of times, I'm still nervous about it. And the first time I wrote it, I was like super nervous about it. So it just is what it is. And yeah, if you can do my exams and get a like 90 or above, I think you've got a really good shot at passing the exam.
That makes me feel better.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm going to sign out. So thank you very much for all your help, Esmond. I really appreciated it.
No problem. Best of luck tomorrow, Kathy.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Hello. Let's see. No, it'd be test different. Want a different one. Glucose is not glucose range, but it's normal. I don't know about that. There was a preference to if both fasting are just concordant, but use Test if you're furthest to the right. Okay. So figure 1 on page S18. Here's a fine print. Apparently, I don't know how to spell discordant. Discordant, oh. Use the right side of the algorithm, yeah. That's what it is. Can you explain? Oh, I just answering this stuff. Some of my symmetric classes called the different ways to prevent rust, or some of them can accelerate rust, I suppose. Okay, one on this measurement. Oh, these are Josie's questions. You're right here.
It's okay. Those are the ones that I asked.
Okay. I'll answer them anyway, just for people who go on the thing. But I was just doing these, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, you're right here. Oh, wait, it's 2 o'clock. So I'm just gonna log off. I'll be on again at 4 o'clock. But if you do have any questions, just feel free to email them to me. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. And if you don't come back, that's totally okay. Best of luck on the exam tomorrow. And just remain calm. That's the most important thing. Take like 70 breaths if you're nervous. And remember, watch your time and don't change your answers around too much.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
And